Hi, I'm Alistair, the GrumpyCIO. And what am I grumpy about this week? Location. Isn't that a really solved problem? Just where everything is in the world, like a postcode it's in or something like that? No, bloody well should be though. What do I mean by that? Well, finding locations today, 2024, kind of feels like going around on a map. We actually at Shipshape have actually put together a solution where we can find the location of any startup that we come across anywhere in the world and put the postcode on it. We had to use 5 different location solutions to kind of pull all this information together because there isn't a unique one, and we had to actually sit here and actually work through what the taxonomy we were going to apply to the world. That's ridiculous. Why isn't that a solved problem? There are some edge cases that are absolutely horrible, so let's just get out of the way first, because there are some places, and I've just put things that directly relate to my family, my friends and my colleagues, so stuff in Ukraine, Gibraltar, Israel and Gaza at the moment, the Falklands Islands or Las Malvinas, depending on where you sit. Yes, clearly it's quite hard to agree on which country which various bits are in, but they are very much the exception, not the rule. And as I go later, actually at a postcode level, it doesn't matter. But even for the rest of the world, we could just agree where everything is and have a code for it, but apparently we can't. So there's a taxonomy of the world, and if you just move myself out of the way for a moment, you see we set this up for ourselves. There's a region, a sub-region, and a sub-sub-region. Why do we come to that later? Because the United Nations have actually set up these various regions and sub-regions in an attempt to actually work this out, but it is not a set system. Below that there is a thing called the ISO-3166 I'll come to, which actually states out the country, and below that you have the state that you're in, the province and the city. How difficult can this be? Well, let's look at where it starts from some real examples. In the Americas, the sub-regions LATAM and the Caribbean, before you get to Central America, before you get to Mexico. Again, those aren't particularly well set, but can be true. You then have Ciudad de Mexico, and within Ciudad de Mexico, there's the area of Cuauhtémoc. I did actually look on YouTube how to pronounce that before I did this video. And within that is Ciudad de Mexico. Now, Ciudad de Mexico, much like the next example of London being the city of London being in the Greater London Province, which is in the state of England, not the country of England. The country is the United Kingdom in taxonomies, is set up, but there are different levels. And so you might think what you're looking for is there, but it isn't. Then you look, is there a sub-region for everything and a sub-sub-region? Well, the United Kingdom is actually in the sub-region of Northern Europe, but there is actually no sub-sub-region for that. So there's just different sets of levels in taxonomies as well. Then you get to Oceania, and I'll give you, I'm a half dual national Aussie as well. I lived a lot of my life in Sydney. It's just nuts. The city of Sydney is sometimes put at a province level, but it's sometimes actually put at the city level below it. But sometimes areas within Sydney are put at the city level. So the Rocks, for those who've been on there, or Darling Harbour is actually listed as a city with a specific postcode within it, within a taxonomy of Australia, and they're all actually under the postcode 2000. So that's just ridiculous and stupid. There is nothing agreed on this. The next thing is we have this thing called ISO-3166, where at least we have agreement on what the countries are in the world. We have a 2-letter code for everything, except we don't, because sometimes it's a 3-letter code, and even then you've got to agree what it is. This is the number of parties involved in actually agreeing the country codes of the world. There are 9 voting members. The Association Française de Normalisation, the American, the British, the German, the Japanese, the Australian get their own one, Kenyan gets its own vote, China gets a vote, and Sweden gets a vote. Bit of a random group of countries, to be honest, but like they are countries that have associations which agree on what countries should be. There's also people who actually have a kind of sit-in on this and go, can they have little interest, like the Postal Union? They probably want to know. The Atomic Energy Union, like they're saying, wherever we've got to agree where the bloody nuclear power station is. Like, I don't really care if it's politically fraught. Like, we need to know where the uranium's going. So there are people who have interest in this, but simply agreeing on what a country is, on what its 2- or 3-letter country code it can be, requires an agency with that many voting members, and they still can't agree with themselves. You then have what regions are things in, and I'm showing on a page something that is actually on a United Nations website, which actually breaks up the regions of the world into regions, sub-regions and sub-sub-regions. This is actually something they do. It's related to the M49 standard, which again is different from the ISO-3166 standard. If you notice on this, the ISO-3166 standard, which has a 2-letter code, is actually here they're using the 3-letter code. We can't even agree on that. And then again, there's a different code altogether, which is called M49. But what these regions are, you can break up the world into any regions you like. There's nothing agreed at all. Now, some of this is difficult because agreeing a region is politically charged. So what is Middle East and North Africa? Does it exist? or is it actually a different area? There's very, very charged questions, so I get that. But on a local level, at least we have an agreement what postcode looks like. Oh, no, we don't. This is the file actually a colleague of mine found about what all the formats of postcodes are in the world. And if you go to Saudi Arabia, they're not even the same in Saudi Arabia. There are a number of different postcodes. If you go to Israel, they migrated from a postcode system to another postcode system in 2013. But people are still using the old postcode system, and that's fine. So there's two different postcode systems, even in one country. The name of it obviously could change. You have código postal if you're speaking in Spanish, or postcode. The Americans have to be different and call it zip code because they're American. But at least these things are roughly similar across the world. It's just literally a translation across languages. But the format of everything, completely different. Wouldn't it be great if you have a system of global postcodes? Now, the wonderful thing about this, going all the way back to the problems about, of setting up regions and the geopolitical influence that we set on the regions, is at a postcode level, it actually doesn't matter. Imagine you're going to Port Stanley in the Falklands Islands, or whatever it's called in Spanish in Las Malvinas. You can disagree on which country it's in. You could disagree on what it's called. You could disagree on the country that it's in, what it's called. But actually, you can still just have a postcode. It's just that code. So the Amazon delivery driver goes, I really don't care, like I've just got to get this, and I know what the code is, where to go. There is obviously another system, what 3 words, which already exists, and there's just geolocation, exact latitude and longitude geolocation, but they're actually not very useful concepts, apart from certain use cases where you need to know exactly where to send the ambulance. A postcode is a useful smallest block of the world to break things up into. And it actually doesn't have to be politically tense. We're just completely crap at doing it. So here you go. Here's a video about some interesting history. Thank you for watching. I'm Alistair, the CIO of shipshape.vc. We help you find the money you need. Yeah, I'm just quite passionate about clearing up crap data in the world. We can just have a global postcode system and it'll save us so much. The ISO maintenance agency can just pull it bloody socks out. Thank you for watching.